Now the addiction is the part where I feel like this really started. I'm not going to go back to years ago where some of these root things may have occurred. I did a video about food just in general, not really personal too much, but there was some personal application in there as well previously. I'll link that in the description box for you to consider watching after. But it's not about the past. Forget about the past. We've all had a past. We've all gone through different things and find ourselves in the position we're actually in right now. Okay? In a lot of ways, dwelling on the past, going back to the past, isn't really going to be beneficial to you by itself. Okay? So I'm going to be talking about the addiction from the standpoint of the current situation where I've really started to realize things. I'm going to be talking about more recent times, and you'll get what I mean as I go on. So one of the big things with regards to this addiction, and we're talking mainly about food here, was that it started to attack my character personally. What do you mean by that, Israel? Well, I pride myself, okay? Pride isn't necessarily a good thing, so I just want to lay it out as well, okay? I did pride myself on being a disciplined kind of person, saying to myself, you know what, Israel, you're quite a disciplined guy. If you say you're going to do something, you stick to it. If you're working hard at something, you'll continue to work hard, and you'll go deeper and deeper and deeper down that rabbit hole, in a positive sense. You won't relent. And I started looking at myself and saying to myself, you know what, you not being able to control the way you handle food, and specific type of food, we'll get to that maybe in later parts of the series, that is an attack on your proclaimed discipline. If you can't, by you not being able to control yourself in regards to this food, is an attack on your character. You say you're this and you say you're that, but you can't even be disciplined in regards to the food you eat. You're not as disciplined as you think. And that was like a slap in the face for me, because like I said, discipline was something that I'd kind of held myself up with and said, you know what, Israel's a disciplined guy. But I'm looking in the mirror saying to myself, Israel is not the disciplined guy, because he can't even control what he puts in his mouth. That was one pillar, that was one part, that was one layer to this. And before we get into any more layers, I feel like I need to preface this, and I should have probably said this earlier on in the video, is these aren't videos in a series that's literally salvation based, okay? I'm not about to tell you any part of these videos that, look, if you don't eat a certain way, you're not saved, okay? It's nothing like that. Nothing like, you know what, you need to go vegan or anything like that. It's nothing like that at all, okay? I'm not a vegan as I record these videos. I don't have any plans in my mind to go vegan or anything like that. So I don't want you to think anything like that. You know, we live in a day and age, I feel like where I've got to preface and qualify so many different things. So it's not some cult thing where you have to eat this or you're not saved, or the Bible says this when it really doesn't say anything like that, okay? So I just want to make that crystal clear, first and foremost, okay? Just judge me based on what I'm saying, or not where you may think this is going, or something you've heard before, which is associated to a certain cult, whatever, okay? Everything I try to do, I try and line it back up to the scripture. If it doesn't line up with the scripture in context, then I'm not really interested in going down those avenues, alright? So, the second layer to this was looking at myself from like a spiritual standpoint, from a biblical standpoint. I looked at myself and I said to myself, well, as a Christian, okay, and you probably agree with this, right? There is nothing in our lives that should be able to control us to the point where it's forcing us to do certain things or to act a certain way. As New Testament believers, we should be led by the Spirit of God and nothing else. The Spirit of God should determine where we go, what we say, how we do it, etc., how we interact with all these different people. And I'm not trying to claim and say, you know what, I'm perfect at this, because I'm not, okay? I'm not trying to say you're perfect at this right now. The point I'm trying to highlight is that this is something that takes growth. We continue to grow. We should be continuing to grow and strive to grow every single day. And I started to realize that, you know what, food had a stronghold in my heart, in my life. And I said to myself, you know what made me realize this was things like this? I started to say to myself, what would you do if you had to give up meat for a week, for a month? Nothing major, not like extreme long period of time. And most people that really know me personally, they know I'm a meat person. And I started thinking to myself, oh, hold on, no, I don't want to do that. I can't give up meat for a week. for a month. Why would I do that? I started asking myself, well, what if I said, you know what, let's just give up like chocolate, for example, or crisp, for example, or something sweet, or any type of different types of food. And as I thought about this more and more, I started to realize that I didn't want to. In the best case scenario, I strongly did not want to give those things up. And I kind of said to myself, well, if this is the case, if this is the best case scenario, that I strongly don't want to give these things up, this is something that can potentially be used against me to my detriment. How? In those different ways. Maybe someone says, okay, you know what, this guy has a weakness for food. I'm going to infiltrate him and get him to do certain things that he may not even want to do through giving him food, etc. Okay? You may go through a period in your life where you're not making as much money and you don't have the abundance to buy the foods that you're generally used to. In that scenario, what are you going to do? I'm raising kids and I'm saying to myself, well, if I'm having these habits and I can't teach my children the exact same thing and say, you know what, you have to be prepared to not let anything hold you back from your relationship with God. Food is one of those scenarios. Okay? And as I thought about this more and more, I started to realize, you know what, Israel, you're an addict. Back then, I was an addict to sugar. I was an addict to certain types of food. And the moment I said those words, okay, I started to realize that, you know what, I'd taken back the power from the addiction. When you can honestly confess and say, you know what, you're an addict, there's no more lies anymore. There's no more excuses. There's no more hiding. And I couldn't keep lying to myself and saying to myself, you know what, I just like those foods, but if I was to give it up, and as I gave them up, I didn't have any withdrawal symptoms. I didn't have no yearnings and drawings to them. I realized that it was as plain as day. You're looking at the facts, okay? It wasn't just some imaginary thing in my mind. I said to myself, you know what? Based on everything I'm seeing, based on the things I'm thinking, this is an addiction. And this is one of the powerful things where I started to see a lot of good results. Why? Because God showed me something powerful. He basically said to me, he said, look, the way you look at the drug addict, the person who's addicted to marijuana or cocaine or heroin, whatever it is, and you think and you look down at them and you say, you know what, how can you be addicted to that thing? Where you literally, whether you steal money or whatever it is, you watch a movie and you see, how can this person be a crackhead? How can this person be a heroin addict? Look at him. And God said to me, the way you look at that person, that is how you need to look at yourself in the mirror, Israel. And when he gave me that example, I started looking at myself differently and saying, you know what? I am the addict. I was the addict, just in a different realm. The way I looked at people in that scenario, I started looking at myself in regards to food. And I said to myself, you know what? God has shown this to me as clear as day. I can't lie anymore. I can't say to myself, you're not an addict. Because I'm doing the exact same things in the realm of food that those people are doing in the realm of alcohol, that those people are doing in the realm of damaging drugs, that those people are doing in the realms of whatever it is, different sins, whatever it is. Now, I'm not saying that eating food, I'll preface this again, I'm not saying that eating different types of food is a sin, okay? Because I don't believe it is. What do you think about certain foods? Could you give them up for a day? Could you give them up for a week? And if you can't give them up for a day, if you can't give them up for a week, if you start making different excuses, if you even quickly say to yourself quickly, you know, I'm not addicted, okay? I'm just going to say, look, just think about it, okay? I'm not saying you are, because I don't know you per se and you have to put 100% of your circumstances, but I could tell for myself that looking at food and the way I treated food, I was an addict. And this was the first part of the realization of the journey that has driven me to the point where I'm at today. So if you're an addict, or if you feel like you're an addict, the first thing you need to do, okay, if you want to overcome this, Because if you don't want to overcome this, you've maybe got bigger issues. But if you realize that, you know what, food is an addiction in my life, based on the things you've been saying today, Israel, I can start to understand and just realize, you know what, I am an addict. Then just leave me a comment below the video and just let me know, say, you know what, Israel, this is my experience, etc. What do you think? And I'll basically reply to you and basically give you some thoughts. But this is the first part in this health series about being an addict and how I've continued to journey out of it as well. We're going to touch exercise, we're going to touch prayer, we're going to attack the healthy shell. Look out for that video. We're going to touch temptation, we're going to touch partners, we're going to touch children, we're going to touch all of these different things. We're going to touch what's happening going forward, we're going to touch all of these different things, and hopefully you can be edified from this journey as we continue to share it. So subscribe to the channel if you want to, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks and take care.